So during the conversation between Tommy McMurtry and Jeff Dollar on the subject of baptism, Tommy had briefly brought up a point about Nephilim and how we should stick with what the text actually says and what the evidence of the text most easily leads us to as far as a conclusion, as opposed to a speculative view where we just insert possibilities into the text and let that be our guiding point. And I think he did a great job showing how Jeff Dollar's position is ultimately based on speculation of modes of baptism. Bringing into the Old Testament in a certain way into the New Testament to kind of allow for these baptismal practices. And when there's no evidence of that, the reality is that baptism is a new thing in the New Testament. It wasn't done previously as far as the particular way. It is now commanded in the New Testament. The Old Testament had a different set of rituals, and the New Testament has a different set of rituals, for believers. But anyway, so Tommy has a great job with that. But unfortunately, if you kind of go back to my conversation that I had with Tommy on the subject of Nephilim / sons of God, and the angelic view of the sons of God that I had some months back, there's an inconsistency going on here because I was pointing out that, hey, in Genesis 6:4, the context is reproduction. This is explaining the origin of the giants. This is not telling us, the giants were just around when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. So if we just look at the verse, there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. And of course, when it says in those days, we can essentially say that's before the flood. When it says also after that, that's referring to after those days, which would mean after the flood. So there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare up children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. So I think it's really quite evident that the whole point of this verse is to tell us about the origins of the giants. What other point would there be? We understand that the giants are abnormal, right? These aren't standard human beings, right? They're giants. So where do they come from? Well, I mean, if you really think about it, if you hold, to a non, quote-unquote, Nephilim position, you don't really have an answer for that, other than just saying, well, they're humans that are giants, But the point, clearly, of the text, and even if you're somebody who doesn't think the sons of God are angels, there's even people who, would be against that position, but would recognize that, hey, the giants are the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. These are the children to them who become mighty men, which were men of renown. I mean, that's evident in the text. But, so on the one hand, for Tommy, it's like, okay, there's giants, and they're just around when the sons of God came under the daughters of men. Is that really the point? And I would just say the semicolon after those days, really, that is code for we're explaining we just talked about. So it's explaining the giants. There were giants when the sons of God came in under the daughters of men, and they were children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. They have to have an origin. So where do they come from? Well, they come from sons of God and daughters of men. And it's very easy to demonstrate in Scripture that sons of God are angels. And so if we grant that the sons of God are angels in the text, and I know Tommy doesn't do that, but if we grant that, it literally would be nonsense to say that there's giants, but no, those aren't the children of the angels and the human women. That just doesn't make sense. The reality is the sons of God are angels, and their children were giants. That's just the easiest explanation of this text. You got to have an explanation for where the giants come from. You can't just say we don't have an answer. It's given us in the text. That's why this is being brought up. Why else is it semicolon when the sons of God came in under the daughters of men and they bare children to them? As a detective, we should recognize, hey, this is explaining the origin of the giants. This is where they come from. Not, oh, they were just merely around when this happened. Like, it's giants are abnormal, and the sons of God going into the daughters of men is abnormal as well. So we're going to have an unusual result, and that's giants. That's why this text is here. And it also tells us after the, so before the flood had happened, it also happened after the flood. That more sons of God came unto daughters of men, and they bare children to them, and they became mighty men which were all men of renown, giants. So, I would just challenge Tommy to be consistent on that. If we're going to stick with what the Scripture actually says, or if we're going to stick with what is the best evidence in Scripture, even if it isn't 100% explicitly said, we need to conclude that the giants are the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Even if you disagree that the sons of God are angels, even if you say that they're just humans, you should conclude that the giants are the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. That's what I have to say for now, so thank you.